All right, let's dive into something really cool today. We're going to break down a fragment from the ancient Cinnabar Scroll. It's a philosophical parable called The Mirror and the Mountain, and it follows this soul, a guy named Astyanax, as he faces a trial that's going to test the very fabric of his reality. Right off the bat, we meet our hero, Astyanax the Seeker. And check out this description. His heart was a furnace of unquenchable eye. Wow. That line tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? This isn't just a story about some physical journey. This is about the self, the ego, and its epic place in the universe. So picture this. The sun is setting, and there's Astyanax, standing right at the base of this massive mountain range called the Great Boundary. He's on a quest. You can just feel it. And right then, as his first trial begins, this mysterious figure starts to take shape out of the mists. Okay, so let's get our key players straight. First, you've got Astyanax. He's the seeker, the embodiment of the I, the self. Then there's Mephistopheles, the tempter, who represents that seductive, shadowy side of things. And finally, you have the mountain itself. It's not just a rock, it symbolizes the not I, everything outside of us, the struggle, the world that pushes back. So Mephistopheles appears, but here's the twist. He's not some kind of classic horned demon. He just looks like a traveler, and he's holding this mirror made of polished black obsidian. And with this mirror, he's about to throw down a challenge that questions, well, everything. And here's the temptation. Mephistopheles asks him, hey, this huge mountain you're about to climb, what if it's just a thought in your head? If you close your eyes, doesn't the entire world just disappear? It's this incredibly seductive idea that the entire universe is just a projection of your own mind. This temptation actually has a name in philosophy. It's called solipsism. It's the idea that the only thing you can be absolutely sure exists is your own mind. Everything else, the world, other people, it all could just be a dream. This is the intellectual trap Mephistopheles is laying for Astyanax. But Astyanax's comeback is just brilliant. He doesn't get into some abstract, philosophical debate. Nope, he brings it right back down to earth. He says, look, the stone cuts my feet. The wind chills my bone. He's talking about his direct physical experience. Pain, cold. These feelings prove to him that the world, this not I, is a very real force that he didn't just invent. So just as Mephistopheles is pushing his whole it's all in your head philosophy, a new voice enters the ring. This one comes from way up on the mountain, and it sounds like the clashing of silver shields. This is Michael, the Prince of Light, and he's got a completely different take on all this struggle. Michael's argument is the total opposite. He says the self, the I, isn't forged in isolation by just thinking. It's a spark that needs to strike against the flint of the external world to even exist. Existence isn't about navel-gazing. It's about action. The path isn't a thought, it's a deed. And this idea also connects directly to a real philosophical concept, something called the Anstoß. It basically means the check or the struggle. The theory is that we only truly become aware of ourselves, our I, because the world, the not I, literally pushes back against us. That resistance is what makes us real. It's the flint for Michael's spark. So this leaves Astyanax with two very different paths laid out before him. On one side, you've got the path of the mirror from Mephistopheles. Retreat into your mind, claim the world is just a reflection. On the other side, the path of the mountain from Michael. Engage with the world, see it as a whetstone to sharpen yourself and live through your actions. And here it is. This is the absolute turning point of the whole story. Astyanax looks at both choices. He sees the eternal certainty of the self offered by the shadow, and he sees the divine obedience demanded by the light. And he rejects them both. He's not going to be a solipsist, but he's not going to be a mindless servant either. He's going to forge a third way. And what does he do? He laughs. And then he drops this absolutely incredible line. I shall treat the world as a cosmic irony. This is his solution. It's a shocking statement that completely reframes the entire problem. He isn't choosing a side, he's choosing to rise above the whole game. So what in the world does this cosmic irony look like? Well, here's his new philosophy. 1, he's going to climb the mountain precisely because Mephistopheles suggested isn't real. 2, he's going to love the divine law precisely because he sees its ultimate absurdity. He's going to engage in the struggle, but on his own terms as the master of the contradiction. So what's the outcome of all this? How does the trial end? Well, Mephistopheles smiles. The wager for Astyanax's soul is left hanging. perfectly balanced. And why? Because Astyanax didn't fall for the temptation to worship himself, but he also refused to kneel and to submit to the divine law. He made his own will supreme. This entire resolution has a name, the Sapphire Mindset. It's all about embracing the absurdity of the struggle you're in, but doing it as a form of self-willed, ironic mastery. In this state, your own will becomes its own holy law, totally independent of the light and the shadow. And that leaves us with a pretty wild question to think about. When you're facing some impossible struggle in your own life, something that feels both painfully real and totally absurd at the same time, is there power in this third way? Can you actually master it by treating it like a cosmic joke that you and you alone have decided to win?